15th of April, coincidentally.
Huh. You know, another topic that we might want to cover someday, in addition to puns and limericks, is the names we give our pets.
Actually, Flash named himself.
Aha.
And before, my pets have always had names of medieval figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for some kind of a medieval figure to name Flash, but he is so fast. He still, at 12 years old, can, in a blink of an eye, be there and gone.
In the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm.
In the blink of an eye, yes. And so where the ferns hang in the summer, let's see if I can upload another picture.
Okay.
I have sat at that kitchen table. I think Professor Lero has too, right?
I believe so, yeah. Uh-huh. It's got, I think it's called, the table is called a clawfoot table.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And it actually has 2 leaves, and it can open up to seat 10 people.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking we had dinner at that table with several more guests, and I was trying to remember how we fit around it.
Yes, well, that's how it expands.
It expands.
It's not magic. And so now what you're looking at is a picture of my house and my front porch. This is, usually there are chairs there, but I see we've just taken the rocking chairs in. And so it must have been late in the fall. You see leaves are falling. What else can you observe about this house? One, this is not a typical American house. What can you observe about my house in this picture? And what adjectives would you apply to it?
All right, gentlemen. What can you observe about this house, and what adjectives would you apply to it? Glad. Heavenly blue. Mm-hmm.
The house is absolutely outstanding on the block, where most of the houses are beige or gray. And so if I'm directing people who haven't been to my house, I'll say, it's the blue house on 27th Street. They have no trouble finding it. Okay, do you know what this style of house is called? Is this a modern style?
No, I'm not sure.
No, not colonial. Colonial has big pillars.
You mentioned about it last class, about this house.
Yes.
Victorian.
Victorian. That's exactly the word.
Victorian.
Victorian. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It was built
Victorian.
in 1884, which is the year my grandmother was born.
1884?
1884, yes. And it was somewhat restored in the year 2000, and we bought it in 2003. So this sitting on this front porch is one of the pleasures of summer that we are looking forward to. My rocking chair is in the room from which I give my classes. Oh, I wanted to say too that there is a reason which keeps me from giving the class from my kitchen table, and that is this ground floor of this house is very open. It's very open. There's a large arch, which I don't have a picture of. It's because I share this space with my husband and my two cats. It takes over too much of the ground floor. So I have a studio upstairs, and that's the one with the quilt behind me. So let's see, how many times was it in repair? That is a very good question, and I don't know the answer. What we have done to the outside since we bought it is we painted it, and we rebuilt the porch. It's actually over a century. 1984 would be a century. That's okay. I'm not strong in math, but I do know that.
I want to ask the gentleman a question. This Professor Marston mentioned that this photograph was taken last fall, and the grass area, the grassy area in front of the house, is called the front yard. In English, called the front yard, and in the front yard is the visible part of the yard, and houses also have what is called a backyard, and backyard is a more private space. So people talk about front yard and backyard, and when they talk about backyard activities, they're talking about activities that are more private. In any event, what I wanted to ask you about this house was, and now have we lost the house? Blue house, there we go, was I noticed something standing in the front yard, right here. Can anyone tell me what that is?
Ah, that's a good one.
Anyone tell me what that is?
Yes.
They're in the front yard, gentlemen. What do we have here?
Tony has a good guess.
A sign. It's a vote agitation. Well, we would call it a political sign, a campaign sign. It's a sign. Very good, gentlemen. Very good. It's a political sign, and I'm guessing that since it's blue, it represents a Democratic liberal candidate of one kind or another.
Yes, what was your first clue?
All right, well, good. Thank you, Professor.
And
Marston.
Then if you will look at the picture called Hostas 2012, this is my backyard, or a piece of it. This is the shade garden from my backyard. There's a little birch tree there, and there's a large oak tree at the back, and then all of these shade plants. There's hostas and lily of the valleys and various herbs and ground covers. So this is the place, this is the third favorite place from my house. You've seen the place I like to work inside, the place I like to sit and look at the world. That's my front porch. And this is my backyard.
We don't have lily of the valley in Texas.
It's too hot.
It's too hot.
So lily of the valley is on the very right-hand side of the picture, and I don't know how to make my pointer work. I need to learn this. So that's, there's the pointer. There's lily of the valley. And it has little pearl-like blooms, usually the 1st of May, but this year it's not going to do that because it's too damn cold, as we say. So those are the 3 things, and so one of the things that we're trying to explore with you next is going to be this idea of your things that you like about where you live.
I have some photographs too, if this is a good time for them.
Yeah, I think it's a good time. You always have wonderful pictures.
Yes.
So we're hoping that you will come armed with pictures, or you have come armed with pictures that show something about where you live. And I've been to both Professor Smith's house and Professor Leroy's house, and they are each very different from my house. I live in a smallish city in an area near the university, which also dates from the 1880s. And the houses on my block are either old or they look like they're old. There are new houses being built on my street, one right across the street, but it is in a style that resembles this Victorian era. The houses are built of wood in general.
Now, do we call your house? Is your house a painted lady?
It is a painted lady.
A painted lady.
And
what a great phrase.
And does anybody know what a painted lady is? If you say something about a person, if you said, for example, oh yes, she was a painted lady, what does that mean?
Gentlemen,
Tony,
what do you think?
Tony, we haven't heard from you in a few minutes. Do you know any painted ladies?
Well, my first thought about was about the artist, basically, or maybe about body art, but I think it's not what you want to hear.
Body art, I love it. No, this is from a different era.
The art.
Okay, so let's think about, it actually refers to a woman with a lot of makeup on.
Oh, okay.
And so a woman with a lot of makeup on, that implies something else about her moral character, or did when this expression was in vogue. So what would that imply? A woman with a lot of makeup on who's called a painted lady. Ah, yes, lad, good for you. A painted lady is a prostitute.
Exactly. I didn't want to say it loud. Yeah.
It's okay. It's a word that you can say. A
Okay.
courtesan is such a
Courtesan.
much nicer word. Courtesan might be elegant,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that one of the places famous in this world for its painted ladies is the city of San Francisco.
That's true. Painted lady, San
Yes.
Francisco. When they refer to dwellings, a painted lady is a Victorian house that's painted in bright colors and has contrasting trim in 2 or 3 colors, and they're really quite bright and eye-catching and very appealing in their kind of painted, over-painted, over-decorated way. Painted ladies.
And I will tell you that when we first painted our house this bright blue color and sat on our newly painted porch, everyone who came by would make a comment. Oh, I love your house, or, ooh, that's awfully bright.
Uh-huh.
Everyone had an opinion.
Everyone has strong opinions.
Yes. Oh, yes, that is, these are, tell us about this picture, Tony, that you just posted.
Well, just Google it, painted ladies San Francisco, and here they are. Well, I've seen these houses before, but I didn't know that you call them like that. Actually, I like them, because I like San Francisco in general, because it is quite a city, with a lot of sights. Oh, there's another next picture.
This house, these are more elegant than my house. My house, for some people, would not really qualify as an elegant house. It is called a cottage. A Victorian cottage is what I often call it, because it's tiny compared to normal, big, elegant painted ladies. And notice the ornamentation around the roof and around the windows on these houses from San Francisco. And I am going to stop talking now.
You know, the ornamentation reminds me a little bit of the windows that you see on many Russian cottages, which are kind of filigreed and very elaborate. Russian window designs are part of Russian folk art.
Ooh.
If you look at the photographs that Professor Shestakov published in that Omsk is the best city, there are some wonderful windows in that sequence of photographs.
I actually have not had a chance to look at that yet because, believe it or not, folks, I have been writing comments all week on the wonderful things that you wrote about education and things that you wanted to reform. So if you thought I never was going to get to it, well, so did I, but I did. So if you haven't read the comments, it's I hope adds something to the conversation. So Joe, are you going to show us your pictures?
I am. If you make me the host.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Just drag the ball up to my name.
Okay.
Bingo.
There you go.
Okay, I also have 3 photographs, and also coincidentally, one of the front of my house, and one of my kitchen, and let's see. This is the front of my house. Here we go. You can all see that? It says Joe Front.
Yeah.
So this is the front of my house. This house was built in 1930, and it's located in an older part of the city. We're close to the university, but not so close as Professor Marston is close to her university. So,
what can you ask Professor Miro about this house?
Is it spacious?
Could you say that again?
Is there enough space inside? Yeah.
Is there enough space inside?
Is there enough space inside? We'll take a look inside. Are you saying that it looks small, Antoine?
Yes, quite small. I can judge it for looking at the windows and doors. It's quite small, yeah. But I can see the second level, or the first level, I would say in the American way.
Actually, there is a second level.
Down in the back. Yes.
It's in the back. There is a second level to this house.
Because
the house is built on a hill.
Slopes down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, I like such small houses. They're cozier. They're more comfortable for me than the huge apartments. The penthouses. Also, do you have a garage, or you're just parking outside?
I do have a garage. It's also behind the house, but as often as not, I leave a car in the front, and that's my truck in the front of the house.
Nice. Yes.
And
also,
one way we talk about house size is to talk about the square footage. So what is the square footage, Professor Lero?
The square footage of this is 1,800 square feet.
Oh, and that's just the size of my house, too.
1,800 square feet. And how many metros is that? Did any one of you?
200 roughly?
200 square meters?
Roughly, maybe 190 or 200.
It's a good-sized house.
Yeah.
What else strikes any of you about this house? What about the surroundings?
Yeah, I was just about to say about the front yard. There's a quite nice garden, I see, and trees. There are trees in the garden.
They're very those trees are very beautiful trees. The one on the right is called a live oak. Oak, and it's called a live oak, żywoidu, because it's green year round. It's green year round. And the one on the left is a cedar elm. All right. So I want to show you.
Professor Lero, can I ask you the question?
Yes.
Your photo suggests me one question. I really note that, I don't know why, but 99% of American houses don't have a fence. Why?
Well, Actually, my house does have a fence,
Yeah.
but it's the backyard that is fenced. And but as far as the front yard, I don't know why. Maybe it's just our tradition not to fence front yards. Maybe Professor Smith or Marston could help me with that.
All Russian houses have a fence. Every house in Russia
has a fence.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I think there are many houses that I have visited in France that have a high wall around at least part of the property. But we have a tradition of openness in the front. It is unusual to have a fenced front yard unless you can see through it. And Columbine, wow.
Columbine, exactly. It's a Texas Columbine. This is a photograph inside the house, and this is me and two of my aunts. On the left is Aunt Betty, and on the right is Aunt Barbara, and they were visiting us a couple of weeks ago, and I took this picture with these two very sweet old ladies. Betty, the one in the green jacket, is 92 years old, and Barbara is in her late 80s. And this is in our living room in the Gastinaya, and behind us is the dining room, the Stolovaya.
What can you observe about this space?
What do you think, gentlemen? What about this space?
Well, if I consult with my humble design knowledge, the bright walls are increasing the space. It shows the illusion of space. So, and a lot of lights around here. There's also shows the illusion that there is much more space around you. So it's a nice decision for such a small house. Well, it's quite a small house. And there's also a wood again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like the American wood because in Russia, wooden furniture is extremely expensive. We don't have a true wood. We have
What do you make your furniture out of?
No, it's made from plywood. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, you should know that if you go to the store now to buy furniture in this country, it is very hard to buy solid wood furniture. It's very expensive. It's no mistake that my kitchen table is 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, one of the reasons that Professor Marston's house looks airy and open, and this one does, is because it has high ceilings. There is a tendency in American homes to have 10-foot ceilings that are 10 feet high, just a little over 3 meters.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
The ceilings in this house, and I'm willing to bet in Professor Marston's house, are 12 feet high, and it gives the impression of more space, even though the floor space is the same. Very high ceilings. Am I correct about your house, Professor Marston?
Yes, and very tall windows in my house as well. It's hard to get drapes and curtains that are ready-made because they're bigger than is normal now.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see. Someone described these women as looking younger than they are. How about someone describing these women? Tell me everything that you can about these two women.
Well, like most of the Russian old women, they're happy. That's the main difference. And it doesn't look at their age, maybe because of the nice condition of living. Yes. And their clothes is quite fashionable, I might say, and their hairs, especially their hairs, they're
okay. It's good. Vlad, how about yourself?
I care about it. Yeah.
You describe these women? How do you think they feel about each other? What are their feelings for each other?
Maybe they're sisters.
Do you think they like each other?
Our sisters.
Why not?
Why not? Okay. Why not? All right. Okay, and the flowers, Professor Marston instantly recognized these flowers. These are columbines, and this is a strain. This is a variety of columbines that have been acclimated to Texas, and my Aunt Barbara brought me these flowers as a gift when she came, Gwosti, and I was so delighted. I went to the plant store and I bought some columbine seeds, and I'm going to plant these someplace in my garden. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but I'll wait until the day after tomorrow and plant them, because she says that she has beautiful columbines growing in her garden.
Where does she live?
She lives near Austin. She lives near Austin, and Betty, my aunt in the green jacket, she lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona, and she flew here by herself. She's 92 years old. She's okay. I'm going to show you my kitchen now, which is also my favorite room in the house. This is my kitchen. The kitchen in our house.
It actually has a lot of features in common with mine.
Well, why don't we start there, gentlemen? Professor Marston noted that it has a lot of features in common with hers, and let's go ahead and identify those features. What do you think? That's a good place to start. Huh? Alexander, Vlad, what is this? How is this similar to Professor Marston's kitchen? Anton, how's this similar?
Well, there's a rhododendron, as I can see. But that's it. I have a completely different design. Well, at least in the kitchen, I can see the kitchen furniture. I can see a dishwasher, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, maybe. And everything looks in IKEA style, actually.
IKEA?
IKEA.
Well, nothing in here came from IKEA.
Okay.
And does that surprise you, Professor Lero, to hear that?
Yeah. Well, I do have a file cabinet that I bought from IKEA, but I would.
I think IKEA strives for look like this, but doesn't get there.
Yes, I would say that too. That it's really a good observation, because IKEA really likes to have clean lines, and there's a certain simplicity and elegance that they strive for, but this may be a model for them. So what about the cabinet?
What's similar? We have a small table and wooden chairs, and the table looks out over the backyard, and you can see the trees in the backyard. And there are also plants here. We have plants in our kitchen. I have African violet. These are African violets, and Professor Marston has ferns. But you have to have plants in the kitchen. You have to have flowers or something growing. Absolutely. And there are a couple things in here that are difficult to see because they're so small. But do you see this? This little item right here in the window, hanging in the window? Do you see that? Anyone? But does anyone have an idea what that is?
Which something? It's a small figure, right?
It's a what? A witch? Did you say a witch?
Witch, yes.
Yeah, it is. It's Baba Yaga.
Exactly.
It's Baba Yaga who's flying in our window. We keep her there and in the frame here. Let's see, right here on the right here, this item in the frame. How about these items on the frame on the left? Those are paper cutouts that are these are Belarusian paper cutouts. Vlad says, for what purpose? What purpose do you have a witch in the window? I don't know, for amusement, I guess.
No, I want someone to write the Russian word in the chat, please.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga. Baba.
And I think some of our Russians need to explain who Baba Yaga is.
Oh, please.
Well, Baba Yaga is a folk character. Yeah, and she's quite neutral character. She can help to a person in the fairy tale, or she can do something miserable. Versa versa. Yes.
So she could be mischievous.
One more time.
Could be mischievous.
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 Baba Yaga. Now, I want to ask you gentlemen one more question. How many chairs do you see in this kitchen? How many chairs?
1, 2, 3.
3. Are they all the same?
No. The white one is the high chair.
Right. The high chair. And who do you think that's for? Why would
Usually
two old
kids. Yeah.
Why would two people my age have a high chair in their kitchen?
Usually they're for kids, maybe for grandkids.
That's right. So when my grandkids come, they like to sit in the high chair. Of course, sometimes when they come, they fight over who gets the privilege of sitting in the high chair. And we always give the privilege to the youngest one who happens to be in the house.
I still like the high chairs, by the way, especially those which stand in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the wheelchairs are also fine. I do the spin on them.
Well, that's my house. That's where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could drag the globe to me, I brought a few pictures from my house.
You got it. Here we go.
I didn't bring as many inside photos, but let's start with the outside. Is that visible? It's called front.
Mm-hmm.
For the Russians in the room, how does the front of my house look different, especially in its construction, to the front of Professor Liro's or Professor Marston's house?
You have a wall, and you have a lovely lawn, grass plot.
Yeah, so it's a little wall, and in fact, the wall is made out of the same thing that the house is made out of, not wood, but what?
They must be connected with somewhere.
Yeah, that wall actually juts out just a little bit from the front of the house, just enough to shade that little tree that's in there.
And I think you're right, Vlad. And you should know that one of Professor Smith's secret lives is he's a Russian oligarch. And it's
yes. Well, I must tell you that like the oligarchs, I do not mow that lawn anymore. For about 8 years I mowed the lawn, or maybe 6, and now there's a lawn service that mows the lawn. So it looks beautiful, but I do not have to do the work.
I mow my lawn.
I mow my lawn.
I now see, now they're shaming me.
No, it's just a matter of, I don't know when you would find the time.
Yeah, that's part of it, and part of it is my knees just don't do so well.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a lawnmower, but it hasn't been turned on in many years. And the tree that you see there with the stakes to hold it up is a holly tree.
Holly.
Which is very common here in Texas, and so for most of the winter it was almost bright red. There were just incredible clumps of berries on it. And it is, in fact, a yopon, and I don't know if I have a picture of the other side of the front. There's a 30-foot yopon holly on the other side over there. So very, very common. And it looks like, I think one of you said it, it looks sort of like a fortress out front. It's not as open and inviting as Professor Liro's house or Professor Marston's house. You have to walk behind the wall to get up into the front door, and it's a little foreboding. But inside, we also have very high ceilings, and I didn't bring a great picture, but let me see if I can capture a picture from the living room. So as you walk in through the front door, you walk into a very open area. And I think I have a picture of, oh, how did that happen? And I don't know how to rotate that. Oh,
down at the bottom.
There it is. You can see this is my daughter. I am suspecting this is Easter or maybe her birthday. It looks like she's opening presents. But you can get a sense from the ceilings behind her that it's a very open and high ceiling to give some height to the living room. She's not quite like the little baby you may remember, Professor Little or Professor
No, she's
Marston.
not indeed.
And in fact, this photo's about 2 years old because I can't tell if she still has her braces on or not. But I had to dig back in my phone to find that.
And she's no longer a baby; she's a babe.
This is my curse, I think.
You can tell her that from me.
I will. I will.
I'm not saying a word.
I can say it.
Yes.
The other inhabitants of our house are this pair. Whose names are Milo and Molly.
Ah, fine pair.
And you can see how they suffer lying there on the bed in the master suite, wondering why any human would come in and disturb them from their nap.
And they are siblings, isn't that right?
They are brother and sister.
Mm-hmm. Do any of you gentlemen know what kind of cats these are? What kind of, what's the name of this particular breed of cat? There is I know there's a Russian word for it. Huh? What kind of cats are these? Are they Siamese? They're most spread in Russia. Okay, Anton says you see them everywhere. That's true. What kind are they? What are they called? What's the name of this cat? What's the name of this cat? You see them everywhere. Alexander, do you know the name of this cat? We seem to have lost Vlad.
Did we lose Vlad there?
We lost Vlad. In English, this kind of cat is called a tabby. A tabby cat. And what about in Russian?
I don't even know that one in Russian.
Tabby.
Tabby. Ah, okay. I was overthinking that. Tabby.
So actually, I'm not a physiologist, so I have never thought about the kinds of these cats. We usually call them just cats because they're widespread in Russia. So we just pay attention for some maybe exotic kinds of cats, like British cats, mainly for door domestia, or Pixian cats, maybe Siamese. Yeah. But I can't find the particular best kind of cat.
Or are you speaking from Google, or are you speaking from your own experience?
I'm speaking from Google, yes.
Well, I want you to speak from your own experience.
From my own experience. No. We also have Siberian cats, yeah, but they have a long hair, and they are notorious for their aggressive behavior. But it's not actually true stereotype about them. They're like any cats, they're sometimes so lazy and they just want to lie somewhere and just be comfortable enough. Yeah.
So 20 hours a day, right? Isn't that what cats sleep?
Exactly. But actually, my cat is quite active, and sometimes it demands to play with her. Yes.
And I will share two more pictures quickly before we run out of time. I did not bring a good picture of my garden as a whole, but in the back of our yard, there are some wonderful plants that some of which we have put in, some of which the lady of the house planted the previous owner. She was an amazing gardener, so part of what we got with the house when we bought it in 2002 was these beautiful flower gardens and beautiful shrubs, and some of which I have proceeded to kill because of poor care. This is not one of the roses that Professor Marston helped me to obtain. This is a
We lost his voice.
Sounds like we lost his voice. Now,
I'm pretty sure this is a Lady Banksia rose.
What is it? It's beautiful. Is that kind of a cream colored rose?
Yes, and it's a famous vigorous climber, and it's called, I think, Lady Banksia.
Wow.
A Lady Banks rose.
Lady Banks. Wow, it's beautiful. Beautiful. And how many years old is this rose?
This rose is actually we put this one in the first year. I want to say it's about 6 or 7 years old, and it will actually take over the trellis, and then I trim it back to about 4 feet in height every winter. This is exactly what it looks like outdoors now. It blooms in the early spring. And it's a little hard to see it. It's actually a yellow rose.
Yellow.
And it's just gorgeous, very prolific. And yeah, literally it will be 10 feet tall by the time the growing season is over. That trellis behind it goes up to about 8 feet.
Wow.
And this is not remontant, I think. It just blooms in the spring. Is that right?
Just blooms in the spring.
The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la.
And then actually, Kostya, can you move the globe to the other peat, maybe? I brought one more garden photo.
Now, gentlemen, are you? We're hoping that you will have photos of 3 or 4 photos of where you live that you can share with us. We may not get to them today, but that would be a good thing to do next week. What do you think? Will that work?
Did you think of bringing pictures this week or not?
Did anyone bring pictures? Okay. Now, let's see. I'm so envious of this beautiful rose bush. I have 4 rose bushes, and they're modest. This one is spectacular.
This rose does not do well in my climate. It's too cold.
Too cold.
And it's interesting. It rejuvenates itself a little bit later than you think it should, and so every winter I trim it back, and every winter my wife accuses me of killing it. And then this beautiful set of blooms just starts coming.
Now, I trim mine on Valentine's Day. somehow.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I pruned them fairly heavily, and they like to be pruned. And I already have blossoms on two of those.
And my roses are beginning to have the whisper of leaves to come, but right now they're still pretty bare.
Uh-huh. And last year, my wife gave me as a birthday gift a Joseph's coat rose, and it has survived two winters, and it's doing well. And I noticed this morning that I have a bud forming.
Okay.
So I will have my first bud this year on my Joseph's coat rose. Parrots.
And I haven't been able to show the Rose of Sharon, but I'll bring that next week as well.
Yes, that's a different sort of thing.
Different sort of thing, not a rose itself.
And so I have to ask you, gentlemen, you've seen something about where we live. What is it that you didn't see that you wish you could? About where we live. For example, I didn't show you either of my bathrooms, but I think that's interesting. It's just not usually something you give a picture of on the tour of your house. And I have a budgie is a parakeet, I believe. My workplace.
Your workplace.
Oh, other people's workplace. You actually have seen my workplace because it's my kitchen table.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But and I will also post. I've been writing a blog, and this is the blog post address of the picture that you saw. And my blog is called Lily Rose Blog. So that will take you right to it. Okay, workplace, that's good. Anything else that you wonder about? We used to say, how does the other half live?
Well, I want to talk about that expression. Professor Marston, you're just kind of giving us the slow lobs today. How does the other half live? My parents would say that. What does this mean? And this is a common American expression. How does the other half live? What does that mean? Let's see, who do we have left today? We have Anton and Sasha. What do we have? How does the other half live? Anton, don't go to Google.
Oh, you don't. No, there's no hand.
Get hands away from the keyboard.
Hands away from Don't go to Google.
Well, how does the other half live? I mean, I think it means the other members of the family, or maybe the other part of the house.
That's good. That's very good. That's a good answer, but it's not right. The other half, we're talking about, like, there are the haves and the have-nots. Do you know that? The haves and the have-nots. Kind of two different classes of people. People like us and everybody else. And when you talk about the other half, you're usually talking about someone who maybe has more money or more resources or is richer than you. How does the other half? This is how the other half lives. That is, people not like us, people who are maybe not better than us, but at least people who have more resources than us. How does the other half live? Right. And how about, as long as we're talking about expressions like that, how about if I say, if I refer to my better half, what am I talking about? Who am I talking about?
You mean your wife, I guess.
Exactly, my better half. It's usually
equivalent for adverb in Russian.
How is it in Russian?
Моя лучшая половина.
And actually, there's one more phrase I wanted to throw in when somebody looked at my lawn. We have this phrase, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence.
That's good.
Let me get that posted in there. What does that mean?
That sounds quite envious, I guess.
Yeah. You know, the idea that you might look at your neighbor and say, his grass is quite green and my grass isn't very green, so maybe he's the other half. Maybe he's where things are better. Or maybe his better half hasn't sent him out to work in the yard.
And Professor Marston is green with envy.
She is green with envy. Yeah, so it is. Yeah.
And we also have, let's see, how about this? This is when someone has a green thumb. What does that mean?
Both Professor Marston and Lero have very green thumbs.
Alexander, Sasha, what does it mean for someone to have a green thumb? A green thumb.
Yeah, I see, but it doesn't look like green. It shouldn't be, I guess. Yeah, me either.
A green thumb, Alexander, is someone who is a good gardener.
Oh. Okay.
Good with plants, yeah.
Good with plants.
Nice idiom, thank you.
The person who is not good with plants is sometimes said to have a black thumb or a purple thumb. So. And so it would be nice to see a picture of your granny and her garden.
So next week we'll ask all of our Russian side to bring pictures of the place where you live, the people or animals you live with, the plants or area that's around you, and we will let you share next week. So Tony and Alexander and all the students who come, if you could come with photos, we will let you tell us a little bit about your world, okay?
Okay, sir.
Well, we want to wish you all a good week, and we will talk to you all then on next Tuesday.
Or maybe earlier a bit, speaking about the conference tomorrow.
Is there a conference tomorrow?
Yes, I'm not mistaken.
I had not heard about that, but I don't know if we're involved or not, possibly.
Yeah.
Probably a local conference, as we would say.
Maybe.
Well, good to see everybody, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
Have a nice week, sir.
Have a good week. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye for now. До свидания.
And Professor Lero and Marston.